Greetings and welcome to the Quantum Ogrecast, the topical TTRPG podcast you were destined to encounter no matter what choices you made. I have an extra special guest today, a friend of mine, Wes Allen from DM Tales. How you doing, Wes?
I'm doing great, Jordan. How are you doing?
I can't complain other than that it's very hot in the closet that I'm now running the show through. Um, but yeah, we've got some interesting topics we're going to cover today. Some of the barriers to becoming a GM, the reasons why more people don't game master, and just some back and forth about the ins and outs of advice online. So we're gonna tear into some really great ideas today, and I think you're gonna have a good time. So thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. We're going to solve all the GMing problems in the world.
The top 10 steps you need to be the best game master possible, and also the top 13 that you don't need and pitfalls to avoid. That's all this is. We're just going to tell you what to do and how to be a good game master. That's the whole episode.
And every answer on the whole list is don't listen to us.
Yep, that's it. So where do we start? I have people say all the time in the comments they'd love to see real examples of how to prep games. Well, check out my Let's Prep series and make sure that you hit the bell icon so you get alerted whenever I go live to build things like this Shadowed Ark dungeon. Thanks.
Why no one wants to GM?
Why no one wants to GM? I think that's a great place to start a conversation. Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any suspicions, guesses?
I see. I'm not sure it's entirely true, but I do think that the improvisation bit is something that a lot of folks are concerned about.
Mm,
They don't trust themselves to be able to go with the flow.
yeah.
Because and it's mostly a lot of we educate people to be so procedural nowadays that when you're not like there's no roadmap for it, like that tends to freak people out. So
Yeah, and it can depend game to game too, because I feel like it can seem really intimidating, like you're saying. If you have a game that you're coming into that has a lot of procedures, a lot of rules, a lot of corner case, small little fiddly bits that you know you feel unprepared to adjudicate in the moment, I think that is part of the cognitive load, maybe that
yeah,
that keeps us from feeling prepared to run a game. When in reality, it's like those aren't the moments anyone's going to remember a week from now.
yeah, and I think a lot of folks they're just afraid of doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What if I
Yeah.
do it wrong? You this is literally something where you can't have every answer at the start.
Yeah.
And the answer is you will do something wrong and the world will not end.
Right. Yeah, and
So,
it's funny. Like I think back on the games I ran when I first started playing, and I made literally every mistake I've made a video about at this point.
mhm.
I've done it all wrong, and those were some of the best games that we had because we didn't know any better.
Mhm.
We were all just having fun. We were having a good time. We were playing our characters, delving in dungeons, fighting dragons, and every now and then someone pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you got that bonus action roll wrong. That's not. You can't cast two spells in the same turn." Whatever it
Oh
was.
well.
And it wasn't the end of the world, and we course corrected next time. But it is. You're right. It's this perceived idea that we're going to mess something up, when in reality, you know, these are. I heard a video today. Now, I'm gonna ramble for a minute at you. I heard a video the other day where the guy was talking about like, the point of a song isn't to get to the end of it. The point of a
Right.
score isn't to play the last note in the song, it's to experience the music. And
Yeah.
RPGs are very much the same way. It's not about having to get all these exact details right. It's about the score you produce together at the table and the fun that you
Mhm.
create, in those moments in the game.
Yeah. When I used to do tech training, I would always encounter people and I could always identify them because they're the ones that would try to write down everything that I was doing, that I was demonstrating on a screen, and they weren't looking at the screen. And I would look at them and be like, you need to look at the screen. This is an intuitive thing. You have to look at the screen and see what's going on. When you can identify what the parts are, then write it down. Oh, I don't learn that way. Well, no, no, no. What they're worried about is that they're worried they're going to break something if they don't have the words right. And that's the opposite way of how using a computer system actually works. Like if you're doing coding, you need to know that. If you're just trying to be a user, you don't need to do it. And so invariably, what I would tell people is like, this is a playground. And sometimes I would literally even say, like, what was your favorite piece of playground equipment when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what did you experience when you got to go out and play on that? Like, this is what this is supposed to be. Like, play with this. You're not going to break it, it won't fall apart. Just play with it and enjoy the experience of playing with it. And you can learn as you go, and that's fine. And a lot of times people will not trust them. So there's something in our culture that we tell people that playing to learn is wrong. And it's like, that doesn't work when that's like how literally human beings are designed to function. And they'll trip themselves up almost to prove themselves that they can't do something. It's very strange when it's like computers, I see it a lot, or technology, I see it a lot. And there's something similar in GMing with that very similar concern. I'll
Mm.
do it wrong. I'll break it. No one will have fun. Where as long as you're going with the flow and keeping the game moving and folks feel that there's an actual story going on, then you didn't break anything. You just played a game. And you always have rules lawyers out there who are going to insist that if you don't play every rule as written, left and right, like you're a failure. And I always love the people guys like, you have to know every rule of the game before you try to GM, which is like my scientific response to that is because it it's so stupid. I get so tired of like there must be perfection. I'm like, just play the dang game. It's a game and
Yeah.
enjoy it. The most fun I have had as a player is with my 7-year old who just we did a Dragonbane sample
Mm.
combat at some point, and he got up, and I literally have this on video. He got up, sat in my chair, and said, "I'm the game master now." This was like 2 years ago, and we've done it one time since. Like he doesn't do it enough. I need to play with him more. And he just ran me on an adventure and said, "Here's what's going on," and would just randomly select dice for me to roll. There was no rule for what was what. He was just like, roll the dice and I'll decide if that works or not. Okay, fine. That's great. It was an absolute blast. He annihilated me, and then Danston said he won, so didn't quite get the game at that point. But um, he hasn't been taught
Mm.
that he can't learn through playing the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There. Let's see if my parent-addled brain can remember this, but there are three things I wanted to touch on that you said there. One is like talking about kids playing RPGs. There's a really really great article in, I want to say it's Knock
okay,
issue number 1, and it's about like what is missing from kids role playing games, and they paint a beautiful picture where it says like basically what you just said. Like when kids play imagination games, what do? They just jump around from thing to thing. They're like, you're over there now. Oh, and you have this, and you can't use that. Oh, now we're over here, and it's like there needs to be more of that spontaneous element, which is I think something that gets lost as we get more and more procedural or whatever, and we worry too much about the rules. So
hmm
yeah, you really hit on something that's like, and it takes me back to like the early days of playing RPGs, because for me it was the world was your oyster. There was so much open to you. Your imagination was limitless, the things you could do. And sometimes like we worry so much about the rules it really starts to confine us and put us in this box that's just really stifles creativity and fun at the table, I think. And
It's this weird balance, and I don't want to cut you off, but there's this because the way that often we talk, because there are folks who just can't have fun, or they don't feel like they have an avenue to be creative unless they have a clear path laid for them, and the rules provide that for them, which is fine. That's it is not how my brain functions. I'm much more of a chaotic type person. But that's okay. Um, I think my struggle is with the people is that they don't want the rules to have fun. Let me put it this way: they don't want the rules to have fun. For them, the rules are the fun,
mm,
and that just that confuses me. Like I just like okay, and I love. I go in. I do reviews and I go through the core mechanics all the time. I love stuff like that, but the fun is playing the game.
yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be interesting. I think in 2 weeks, so 2 weeks from this, I'm probably going to be having Luke Crane on the show, and
gotcha.
he could not be at the more opposite end of the spectrum. So it'll be funny to like sort of play devil's advocate and jump on the other end and talk about like some of the procedural things that are really great. But yeah, you made a couple really great points that I just want to touch back on. But one of them was like feeling really confined by getting it wrong, basically.
Yeah.
And just as an example, like when I first started playing, I read a module. Like this was Pathfinder first edition, D&D fifth edition kind of days. So this module was like 300 pages. Or sorry, module isn't even the right word. Adventure
That's not a
book.
module. Yeah, that's a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was so overwhelmed by what I read, and I felt like I started to like study the Wikipedias of the Forgotten Realms and things like that, to the point where I was like, I'm gonna go insane if I try to run this game. So I scrapped the entire thing, basically
Wow.
threw the book out, and I was like, I'm just gonna make it up from scratch, and I'm gonna do what feels good, and I'm gonna like write my own sort of like not story, but like write a playground for the players to play in, build a sandbox, whatever.
Yeah,
And that was so freeing to me. Now there are people that are the other style that like they need an adventure to tell them what to do and to sort of build frameworks and things like that to play a role
sure.
playing game. But I feel like for a vast majority of us, and especially if you're new, I think you can it can trip you up by feeling like you have to get everything right. And to me, I felt like if I didn't do exactly what the book was going to tell me how to run this adventure, then
Hmm.
I was going to do something wrong later on, and it was going to have a cascading effect, and my players were going to realize that it was all a sham, and that I'm not a good game master, and all this other BS. And so I just threw it out, and I thought I'm going to write something because you know I have a little bit of a creative spark in me, and I feel like they're going to have fun either way. and
Sure.
and I think that's the point I'm getting at. Really, is that we put this expectation on ourselves with these games because we hear all this advice online, we see all this stuff. There's such a performative aspect to the hobby these
Hmm.
days, and I think people see all these things, and even like, I was doing a stream the other day, and I'm reading all this stuff from like all these knock issues and stuff on like how to play old school role playing games really well. And I was sitting
Right.
there and I'm thinking like I'm probably going to use 3 of these points in my game. Maybe I'll internalize some of it, maybe.
Yeah.
But there's so much out there that really it could start to you can overburden yourself so easily by thinking that you need all these extra
I
things.
I will not watch DM advice videos. I don't, and I don't. I mean, I first off, I consider myself kind of a hack GM anyway, but so I don't. Who am I to give advice? But let me give advice. Um, it just is overwhelming. It becomes this comparative issue. Well, I need to figure out it's either what camp I'm going to be in as to which GM style I'm going to follow, and I will follow that, and or it means well, I'll never measure up to that. Um, and it's this just unnecessary burden. to put on people who just want to play a game. Just here's a situation and run with it, have fun. And I don't get the it's it's the absolute advice that drives me bonkers. Like,
Yeah.
well, you should have no less than 30 NPC names picked out. Why? Well, because people can't think them up on their own. Okay, so I have 10 people named Steve. And that just, to me, that's fun. Like, they're
Oh
all
yeah.
Steve. Who are you, Steve? What? Well, there's Steve over there. Yeah, well, that's my cousin Steve.
Just to
Um,
jump over what you're saying there, I read a
yeah.
Brandon Sanderson book where literally he names all the rest of the pirates on the ship Doug because their names aren't
Yeah, they're all
important.
Doug. Oh, that's Tress in the Emerald Sea.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
love
and
that
and
book.
and so now I do the same thing. I'm like, it's Doug. This guy's not going
There's
to
Doug.
be important for 5 minutes.
His name is Doug. His name is Steve. Who is
Yeah,
it? Steve. And I'll sometimes I'll make up a fun name just because I have something in my head. But and
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with having 30 NPC names pulled out.
absolutely.
But for someone who's already like, there doesn't seem to be an awareness of the audience sometimes where people are already anxious. So here, let me give you 15 more burdens to carry so that you can feel even more anxious. And I mean, I suppose there are people out there who find that helpful and their anxiety is alleviated from it. So like I am not the person with the definitive reaction to advice like that. But to me, that all that does is freak me out more.
Yeah,
Like, oh, I didn't have the 18 things on the checklist down to run this session. I'm screwed. But then again, I run Numenera now, so if I want to create a new creature, it's a level 4 and I'm done. Like, and it looks like a giant lobster slash scorpion, and it attacks really fast, and it's hard to hit, so it has armor, and I'm done.
yeah.
Like, I literally just created a monster for the game. So that to me, I like stuff like that,
You've
which
been
is fun.
watching my Shadow Dark live streams because you stole my notes. No, it's a
What do you
moth. It's
mean,
a moth crab. Never mind.
a moth crab?
But
I know.
yeah,
You know what? I have not been watching your Shadow Dark live streams. I'm so bad.
it's okay.
Sorry.
Who can keep up with all the content on YouTube, really? But
It's so much. Well,
I wanted to jump off of that and say though, like, I've tried to make an active effort on my own channel when I do give advice to say like, hey, this is something that works for me, or this is a tool I use, or even like I think there's a video where I say, hey, you know what? Free yourself up to not listen to all the advice online, and now here's some advice, and just kind of
yeah.
jokingly try to play off it because it is so true. Like, I think because it is such a nebulous hobby and there are so many to-do lists and like the 8 ways of
Mhm.
doing X and the 5 don'ts of Y, and yeah, it
Right.
gets really easy to feel like you need all these exact methodologies and all these frameworks in order to make a good game. And sometimes, you know, Scrimgeon Jinkledink, your silliest player at the table, Scrimgeon Shrinkledink,
Shrinkledink.
Shrinkledink, Scrimgeon
Gotcha.
Shrinkledink ends up running away with the scene, and that becomes an hour and a half of your session when you only have 3 hours to play with all these guys, and
Yeah.
it's fine. It worked out. Everyone had a good time. In fact, that's the session they remember of the entire campaign a year later. So it wasn't about the 6 this or the 7 that's or the 10 don'ts. So
No, it was just have fun. Let actions happen. Let the world respond, and that's GMing.
yeah,
And it's to me that's simple, but it's a lot of folks get very very tripped up on the whole concept. So
well, there are a lot of barriers to running the game, and I think the more that we can break some of those down, the more game masters will see running games, and that's something I really try to champion online. Even if I am giving advice, I try to say like it's easier than we're making it. Don't feel like it's going to catastrophically fall apart. If your players walk away and come back the next week, then you did it right. That's all there is to it.
That's the advice. That's the best advice to give. Like if they come back, you're good. And nobody cares. And if you screwed up a ruling, you can be like, okay, listen, we can keep going with that with what we did last week. Or if you want to go with the rules as written, we can go back to the rules as written and move there forward. Nothing changes at all.
Actually, here's the only advice that you need: talk to your players. Have
Talk to
an
your
open
players.
dialogue, because even if they don't come back next week, ask them why. Maybe it wasn't the game for them. Maybe they didn't like the grim dark setting you were running. Maybe it has nothing to do with your GM style and everything to do with the mechanics. You never know what it is if you don't
Really
talk to
don't.
your players. So
And and understand that sometimes your players are just like people everywhere else and they won't tell you reality because they're either trying to hide from it or they don't like confrontation. So they're just
yeah.
not, you might not get the true answer. Like, why don't you want to come? Well, it's just not for me. Like, it could be like they don't like Steve sitting across them at the table. But they're not
Which
going to say
Steve?
that. So, which Steve? Well, that's Steve, not tall Steve, short Steve, as opposed to red-haired Steve.
Or they had to move and now they're in a new space and their life fell apart. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, their life. Yeah, you could have to have play in a closet.
yeah,
I mean, who
exactly,
knows? Which is where you're sitting right now with no fan
exactly.
because it hit the microphone. We didn't like it.
Sweating in my bright
So.
red Clock World shirt.
See, you got a Clockwork shirt. I'm actually a little jealous of that. Did you buy that?
Oh man, do I say this on the record? Um,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Peter and I, we grew a friendship over the course of the Kickstarter, and when we met at Gen Con, a lot of us hung out, and so I kind of just asked. I was like, hey, if you wanted to give up a shirt, I would definitely wear it on my videos and promote your game. So that's the story of that.
I could see Peter going, here you go. Here you go. So I love Peter. He's awesome.
He is great designer too.
Very good designer. Love him. Does wound systems. We're fine. We can summon him.
Yep, we said
It's always a good
wounds.
time.
He will
We
appear in
said
the
wounds.
comments. So
We'll make sure of it. What did we say the other week for like we had to have a clip of Peter like just like coming in the door going, did someone say wounds? And like
oh yeah,
anytime we say wounds in an episode, like we just have to have that clip of Peter popping in. I just think that should be a thing.
get on it, Peter.
Please, Peter. We really need this. The YouTube needs the wounds guy. Really does. All right, let's get back on topic. So we're playing GMs.
So
But I think that it's really is it's there's this pressure to do it right, to know all the rules, to make sure and I don't want to make it all like a negative. Oh, these stupid people who think they have to do it right, because I think there's a lot of cultural pressure for that. I think in a lot of ways, there's a good impulse behind it that we haven't helped people work through to a positive response so that they can take this step, which is I think they're worried about being a bad host.
mm,
I think they're worried about running a bad game. And I think that's really what's at the core. We get it tied in knots around rules and all the advice and doing all this other stuff. And that is an issue because that's we kind of have to weed through all of that to get down to the core. But GMing is hospitality, which is something I don't think we talk about enough.
yeah.
And people are worried that, well, if I don't have all these things, then it will be a bad game and they're going to like I'll be a bad host at the table. And I don't want to be that. But we don't have like we don't have a society that does hospitality well, either giving it or receiving it. And so and we have this Martha Stewart like
Mm.
understanding of what real hospitality is. It just has to be perfection. which isn't. It just has to be warm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what it has to be.
No, you make an excellent point. Yeah, I think there is a good underlying impulse there, like you're saying, because you also don't want to waste everyone's time. You don't want everyone to
Seriously.
show up and you feel like this game just collapsed, it fell apart, it wasn't anything you were imagining. But then at the same time, to kind of spin that, you know, if you have 5 people at your table, they probably have 5 different ideas of what is fun about tabletop games. So there's almost never any one session where you're going to please all 5 people. I mean, it does happen, but you get what I'm saying? Like, there,
Yeah, oh yeah.
this is such a complex and varied hobby. So it's the reason some of us don't even like the same games. There's such a breadth
Correct.
of subgenres within the TTRPG sphere that I think if you decide that that is solely on you and not also on the player to come to you and say, like, hey, I'm not really enjoying this about the game, then you're going to set
Hmm.
yourself up for failure, because there's just no way 5 6 adults sitting at a table are all going to agree, like, the jokey part with whatever stupid name I came up with a while ago was the fun part to them.
Trinkledink.
Shrinkledink. Yeah, the campfire tales of Shrinkledink was
I don't know
not
why
the
I
part.
remember that.
Yeah, well, congrats. It's your GM skills kicking in. Does that make sense? What I'm getting at here?
Yeah, hospitality is a two-way street, which is another thing we don't get. There's and a lot like all the bad player videos and everything that you see about bad player stories. All it comes down to a lot of times it's just being a bad guest. Like this person, the GM has made space at the table. Their job is to make a space where you can be welcome and have the possibility of having fun. It's the player's job to take what the GM is offering, take the space, and then interact with it in a way to where there can be a meeting place where fun can happen. That's to me, that's the hospitality aspect of it. It is that two-way street. There's being a good host and there's being a good guest at the table. And when those things meet, then good things happen. And when they don't meet, well, then you have the nightmare stories.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And if you show up at my house at a cookie eating party and you didn't tell me that you're gluten free, that's on you. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's not, yeah, we're having cookies. I'm gluten free. I would have been nice to know a week ago
I only want to
when
play
I
war games.
invited you. Yeah, I only do combat. Okay. I mean, we're right now we're going to a ball. So have fun.
This is a Howl
Um,
market venture where
this is a Hallmark adventure.
we
There will be hijinks.
we did have some combat, but maybe you signed up for the
Yeah.
wrong game. I don't know. And not to like be like it's all the players, because you do have responsibility, like you're saying, to be a good host. So
It's a host. Yeah.
it's
You let people know
absolutely,
what's happening.
yeah, it's a conversation, right? Yeah,
Yep. And I think that's part of the struggle. But that getting people over that hump of not needing perfection from point, from point A, that's a hard thing for a lot of folks to get over.
yeah,
So
yeah. In fact, I'm gonna look at the camera right now and I'm gonna say, you're gonna make all the mistakes. It's gonna happen, and it's fine. You're gonna learn from them and adapt and grow. Look at that.
yeah,
Look at that. Got my little slogan in there.
you get you there you go. I there will be sessions where you suck. Like
Yeah.
where you just things don't flow, the hooks don't get taken, the you forgot 15 rules. Somebody died when they should have lived, somebody lived when they should have died, and everything gets screwed up. And if people just go, awesome, we'll come back next time, then who cares? Because that's what it comes down to. But the acceptance of that is a hard thing for people to get to.
All right.
So,
I'm gonna slip in some advice here. You ready? Some practical advice.
okay.
And here we go. I got to frame it. This is what worked for me. So one of the things I think I used to do that was probably my like biggest mistake was that I just didn't listen. I think the sessions that were the worst were because I was worried too much about like either like the plot or what was supposed to happen in the game, that I
Yeah.
wasn't paying attention and looking up and looking around at my players and realizing, oh, they don't care about this puzzle. They want to move on. You know,
Yes.
I dug way too deep into the thing I think needs to happen, and I'm not looking around and listening to the table and hearing that everyone's groaning and bored right now. They do not care
Mm-hmm.
about this dungeon room. They want to get out. They want
Just
to.
sitting here like this.
Yep. So there it is. I in the video where we're telling you not to listen to all of the advice. There's my advice.
Listen to that advice.
So
Yeah, it's I had one moment I knew in advance because it was a they were kind of a chaotic bunch. This is the first adventure I ever wrote, and it was the second time I ran it. It was actually the first Hallmark adventure, which was 5e, because that was the only system I had at the time. And there was a moment where they went in and got the MacGuffin, and they came out, and there was just an army of goblins there, along with the person who was trying to take over the town, because there's always a capitalist trying to take over a town in a Hallmark movie, um, and demanding the MacGuffin. Like, thank you for retrieving that. No, we'll take it from here. And I knew that the party was like, we're going to go back in the cave. We're going to find a secret exit. We're going to do this. And like, my brain was like, all right, I have no time for this. I don't have any maps for that. And this is a one shot, and I'd like to get done sometime before. But it was a one shot that ended up being a 2-year campaign, but that's another story. Um, I don't have any time for this. So, oh, we're doing a Hallmark movie. I knew this was going to happen. So I railroaded them by steering into the Hallmark movie trope. And their plan is like, we're gonna fight the 75 goblins who are here, along with that giant orc, and they probably have spellcasters. And I went, okay, so you're all doing there, and you hear cut, and you look around, it's like, the the cave entrance is paper mache, and the lights are there. And the director comes up to you. He's like, "Listen, I really love the improv, I do, but we got 3 more films to shoot on this set today alone. We really need to get through. So if you could just stick to the script, that would be great." And they all steered into the skid. So one of the players is like, "I'm going to my trailer and calling my agent. This is terrible." Someone else like demanded they go get him Starbucks. Like, go get me coffee. So they had and so they're like, okay, so, and I'm like, guys, and I literally was like, guys, I have nothing. Like, I understand this is my first adventure, and I understand it's a complete railroad, but you have like this has to happen, and then you can deal with whatever you want from there. But I got no other way out of this. This is the whole thing, it was a terrible adventure. But I knew that, so we steered to the skid, and they went, okay, cool. So it's like, just let it happen. It's like, all right, I guess we'll let it happen. Okay. So they were talking about calling their agent, and they coaxed somebody back out of their trailer. And so I went back, and the world shifted back into the Hallmark world. And so they went for the whole thing. And the one character who demanded coffee, his character had the coffee cup for the rest of the campaign.
that's awesome.
Because he's somehow the two realities like merged. And actually, when we got done the one shot, I rolled credits at the end, like a Hallmark movie. I said, okay, so here's the deal. The story's over. If we want to keep going, like, the Hallmark is over there now, and you're doing your own thing. Like, yeah, we'll keep playing. So they did, but he kept the coffee cup the entire time. So
Classic.
that's so I was a terrible GM in that moment, but it was also one of the most memorable moments of the entire campaign.
I mean, there you go. That's such a great bow to tie this whole conversation up with. Sometimes you're you think you did something terrible and just terribly wrong, and you ruin the game. But you know what? Maybe that was what was needed in that moment. So really, don't put that pressure on yourself, because that game was a one shot, as you said, and it needed to end. It needed to wrap up, and this was a moment you did need to railroad everyone and just say, you know what, it was a movie set.
It's it's time to go to the finale, guys.
Yeah.
It's a movie. Let's go. But and then from there we went loopies. So
All right. Well, there you have it. And I think maybe just like your game wrapped up there, this is a perfect segue to wrap up our episode here. I want to say thank you so much for joining me, Wes. We've known each other for a bit now. We've hung out. We've actually played in person at the table together.
mhm.
Tell the folks at home what you've got going on, what you've got coming next, maybe some project or something you're excited about, and where they can find you.
Oh my gosh. Well, you can find me on YouTube at DM Tales. It is YouTube at DM Tales TTRPG because DM Tales was taken. I'm at dmtales.com as my website. I'm also on TikTok as DM Tales, which is very strange. I am not cool enough to be on that platform.
Neither.
And Dave Ward, who is another friend of ours, and I are working on publishing my first adventure.
Mm,
Not the first adventure I just talked about. My first adventure that's getting published is The Ocean Incident, which is a sci-fi horror, um, very much kind of tweaked with the Farscape theme from Index Card RPG. And I ran it at PAX Unplugged a couple years ago, and Dave actually was in that campaign or in that adventure, and then he ran it for Crit this year.
cool.
So it was like I'm gonna run it, and I think he converted it for like Easy D6 and ran it for Index Card RPG. I was like, awesome, like please go, like here's all my stuff, run the adventure, and we we're going to publish it. So we're actually going to try to get it out for Zine Month. It's going to go on Backer Kit,
Awesome. Yeah.
I think in February.
In fact, you mentioning that reminded me. I'm pretty sure we talked about that exact thing in the crit episode where I had like 10 of you guys on. So go check out that
Yeah,
episode if you haven't seen it. Dave Ward's on that. So
it was a lot of fun. Dave is awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. So that's going on. Um, on every other Monday right now, we are running through my Easy D6 Hallmark trilogy, which is not linked to my other one that I was talking about. And that is the heroes of Hobgoblin Falls as they rediscover the joy of whatever holiday they're going through because it's all Hallmark movies. And that's been fun. We had one episode. We're continuing on this. Well, when we're recording this coming Monday on the 13th will be episode 2. So that's kind of fun. It's my first like mini campaign live streaming
mm.
that I've done for the channel. So that's been kind of fun. I'm looking forward to getting through that. And I'm going to GameholeCon.
And while we're talking about cons and stuff, and I'll just to
Yes.
vouch for you, you ran one of your Hallmark games last page, and we got to play in it, and it was a lot of fun. It was ridiculous shenanigans. That was some of the most fun I had at Page, and
Aw,
yeah. So, and I think we're both going this year, right? Hopefully.
we are both going to Page this year. Yes.
So
I am
yeah.
not running a Hallmark game this year. I probably should have, but that's what the adventure that we're going through right now is the one you played in.
Oh, awesome. That one was
Do you
fun.
remember? Do you remember what character you did?
Um, I don't off the top of my head. I was brand new to Easy D6, so I was like really
Okay,
focusing in. So
gotcha. But it's they're fun adventures to write, and they get progressively more branching path as they go
mm.
forward. So like the last one has like 5 paths to go through to get to the end. So it's kind of fun.
I don't
Um,
remember my character. I remember the adventure, and I remember being like the disgruntled guy in town because I just decided that was my trope.
yep.
Like Luke from the coffee shop in Gilmore Girls or something. Like everything was bothersome. So
Oh, I have to do this now. Oh boy. No, were you the wait, you weren't were you the erudite goblin?
maybe that sounds familiar. That sounds
Because
right.
he's that character is being played by Scrat now. So
He'll be perfect for that.
Chris from no Chris. My gosh, my brain is gone. Was it Phil or Chris? It was Chris. Was playing the first episode and unfortunately had to drop off. So my brain is not working right. So
Mine either.
Scratch jumping in to play the character. So that should be fun. But then I'm going to GameholeCon So I'm looking forward to that. For it'll be the only time I get to go. So that's kind of really exciting for me. And then I'll be at PAX Unplugged because it's right down the road. I'll be there 2 of the 3 days, and then Page. And then next May 1st and 2nd is EcclesiaCon 26, which we just opened up our uh, our event submissions for. So
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
yay!
Shout out EcclesiaCon while you're at it.
So EcclesiaCon is I call it a boutique gaming convention in Palmyra, New Jersey. It takes place in the basement mostly of the church that I pastor at because that is my day job, believe it or not. And we split the proceeds. So the first year was 50-50 between our church's roof replacement loan and the food pantry down the street. Last year we split it 25-75. The church took 25% of the cut because I hate raising money for myself. And we did 75% for booksmiles.org, which is a literacy, it's a non-religious affiliation literacy organization down here in South Jersey. Their entire mission is just to get books in the hands of children so they can develop a love of reading, which seemed like a really good thing to be part of. And we're going to do the same thing this year. So we'll split 25-75 with Book Smiles this year too. So we gave Book Smiles $5,000 last year.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty awesome. And we had a good time. Ron from Page was there. He ran our auction. We had some fun. Special guest for a small little con like ours. I'm hoping for some other guests to come this year. It should be a good time. And lots of fun games and a good thing. And we're doing all day Friday, all day Saturday. It used to be only Saturday evening, and then we had a Sunday afternoon, and we cut out Sunday because folks really weren't staying for it. So we're doing a full 2 days, and that'll be it.
Nice. Well,
Good times.
you heard it here, folks. Roll some dice, do some good.
Yep.
And man, I wish I could make more cons. I'm lucky if I get like 2 a year, and that's a good year. But I would love to be there. I'm gonna have to make it at some point. It's quite a drive for me.
It is a long drive, and I can't let you stay at my house because Dave is in this room.
Oh,
So already claimed.
my internet is failing right now. You got a little choppy there, but
Oh no.
well, maybe that's the sign
Oh.
that we should wrap this thing up and do like you did, pull back the curtain and say, you know what? We'll see you next time here on the Quantum Ogrecast, no matter what choices you make. Thanks for watching. Hey, it's your old pal Jordan. Just wanted to say a big personal thank you to everyone who's liked, commented, subscribed, and hyped my videos over the years. If you like what we do here, make sure to follow me on some other platforms such as Instagram and Blue Sky, and if you feel up to it, check out the Patreon where I'll be talking about some of the games and projects I'm working on. Also, we have this initiative on the Discord I'm calling the Elder Goblin Academy that's all about playing more games and rolling more dice more often. Thank you guys for the support, and as always, learn, adapt, and grow.